Do you know someone amazing? Someone who has a unique job or hobby? Maybe someone involved with an interesting organization, be it a creative community or a charitable mission. There are people like this hidden in our community, living their daily lives all the while achieving incredible goals, creating works of art, inspiring others to be their best, or just generously donating their time. This show is about putting a spotlight on these members of our community. I'm Ben Harris, a 2017 graduate of Shrewsbury High School and alumnus of the SHS Speech and Debate team, here to introduce a new show that will be hosted by different members of the current team each episode, showcasing their talents as they work to deliver these enriching community stories to you as we celebrate these quiet but undoubtedly impressive individuals. Simply put, we want you to stay with us for a moment, because these are the people you have to meet.
Hello, and welcome back to this episode of You Have to Meet. My name is Katelyn Buckley, and I'm currently a junior at Shrewsbury High School, serving as a member on the Shrewsbury High School Speech and Debate team. Today, I'm honored to be able to have the opportunity to interview Jen Smith. Jen is a resident of Shrewsbury, a health and wellness coach, a fitness trainer, and a pro bikini fitness competitor. She has pro cards for WWBF and IFBB. So hats off to you. You have a very impressive resume. Would you like to say anything more to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Katelyn. It's kind of funny. I was not the athlete growing up.
Really?
I was the one last picked in gym. My mother used to write me notes for gym class. And, fast forward 40 years later, and I now eat, live, and breathe physical fitness for for just improvement of myself and to help others. So it's really, taken a full circle from how I began.
Yeah, I actually heard that you started your long fitness journey after you graduated high school, and you started by entering in triathlons, things like that. So what inspired you to kind of get into fitness after high school?
So after high school, I actually started swimming in high school just because I love to swim, and some people had said, why don't you be in a swim team? So in high school, we finally found a swim team, and I joined that, and I started swimming with little 8-year-olds at the age of 14 and 15. I'm in the young kids lane until I could finally master some of the moves, and then excelled up with my age group. And then when I went to college, I continued swimming. When all my friends were getting burned out of their sports, I was just excelling in them because I had never done it before. So throughout college, I loved it. I just loved doing that. At the same time, I was also water skiing. So kind of these two non-team sports, not your traditional, say, ball sports, were where I was finding a lot of my passion. Met my husband in college, who was a football player, and he really inspired me to try more. He said, come lift with me in the weight room. And I said, ooh, I can't do that. And I kind of fell in love with that. And it was just really, I was working full time, taking classes at a local YMCA, teaching swimming lessons at the same time, and then kind of just fell in my lap to start teaching fitness classes.
So your entire life, ever since you graduated high school and into college, has been, fitness, fitness, fitness. You've accomplished many feats. Like, I know you qualified for the senior national games in running the 400 meter. I heard you have a pretty impressive time with that. Would you want to elaborate a little bit more on that?
Sure. So again, and I go back to, I tried playing field hockey in high school, and I pride myself in being first string bench warmer. I was very good at that, and I was happy to never get off the bench, and I never wanted to run. So to all of a sudden now be running now at age 50 is something that I never thought I would be doing, but it's different when you're doing it because you want to do it, not because someone's telling you to do it. And I was just doing some training one day and was sprinting, and my husband again said to me, do you think you could do that for 400 meters? And I looked at him and went, I don't know, what's 400 meters? I had no idea visually where that was going to be. And he said, well, it's just one time around track. So we went down to the track at Sherwood, got out the timer, he timed me, and he said, your time right now, without warming up and preparing, would qualify you for nationals for the senior games. I said, oh. So quickly we went online to find a place because we missed the Massachusetts games, and I found New Jersey. So 2 weeks later, we drove down to New Jersey for 4 hours for me to run for a minute for 400 meters. And I not only qualified for the national games, but I also won my heat and crushed any time I thought I was going to have.
So it's actually really interesting because typically you hear about people getting super involved in sports when they're in high school and then kind of fading out of it as they get older, but for you it was kind of the opposite.
It's definitely the opposite, and it has to do with the fact that it's what I love doing, and what I've been learning through the time is training your body properly, from the nutrition to the rest to the actual training you're doing, puts everything together and makes your whole body move as one complete unit.
Yeah, with that, you've put a lot of emphasis on this whole, you invest in your 401k, you should invest in your 401h for your health. I find that really interesting because you seem to emphasize the fact that health is just as important as your financial ability or anything, because health enables you to be successful like in your life in general. So would you just like to elaborate a little bit more on how health contributes to your overall life?
Yes, so I love that you bring that up. So the comparison of, we invest into our 401k, which you don't know about yet, but once you start working, you put some money aside, and it might be hard to put a certain percentage aside, so later on in life you can have it at retirement or using it for certain things that you're buying. And then we forget about our health, and what happens is we work and work and work and work so hard that by the time we're ready to retire, our health is deteriorated. And if we take time when we're younger, and if I could have taught my younger self more of what I know now, to really invest in our health with the way we eat and the way we sleep and the way that we train, so that you can do so much more. Because I'm finding people of my age who are now entering in the second half of our lives are relying on medications to keep them alive, and they're sitting back on their recliners, and that's not what I'm going to do. At 50 years old, my life's still going, and it's just beginning because I've been growing so much for 50 years. Now it's let's explore and do so many things that are out there.
Yeah, I think it's truly inspiring how through this time you've been able to maintain a healthy lifestyle, but obviously you are kind of an exception in a field of people who put their health kind of on the back burner when they grow older. So how would you recommend people to keep up with their healthy lifestyles or keep up with their nutrition and their diets as they get older?
Yep. So to keep up with your fitness, we'll say, because everyone thinks that that's going to be the magic thing, and it's not. It is your nutrition that's really what's magic. But we'll look at we'll look at the fitness first, and just being in movement all day long. So I love the fact that people wear their Fitbits that tell them the steps, but we shouldn't be in such a life that we have to rely on something telling us that we're taking steps. We just need to move more, rely less on technology to get us places, and just get out there and enjoy life. So I always tell people, when you're first starting out, can you give me 30 minutes of walking, just some walking, get that going, because we all have the ability to walk somewhere. And even if it's just walking circles in your home or your apartment, you can do it. But nutrition would be the king in keeping everyone really, really healthy. Everything is processed now, and it's just the demise of our society. We need to get back to nature. We need to get back to things that we can pick, that we can grow, that we can just not have to overly cook and change when we eat. So keeping things more plant-based will always help people. If people choose to eat meats or not meats, and that's everyone's choice, but we need to not be eating the Twinkies and the donuts and the chips.
The saturated fat, all of that
Exactly,
stuff.
exactly. So just stay with more whole-based foods. But there's still life. Life happens, and everything's in moderation, and including moderation itself. So you can't go too deep.
So I know that you work with some people on improving their own lifestyles in addition to yours. So you have clients, you help them to achieve their goals. Would you like to talk a little bit about how helping people improve their own lives affects and inspires you?
Sure. When I have someone that comes to me and is just run down, feeling like they just can't even accomplish their daily tasks, needs to lose some weight, and has been told by their doctors that their biometrics are off and they're pre-diabetic, and they look like the weight of the world is just on them, and they reach their last rope to make any changes. And they come to me and say, what can we do? And I say, well, let's just first start by, are you drinking water? Let's drink some water. Let's get some extra movement in you. And as time goes on and they start feeling better, and we start introducing healthier foods into their diet and seeing the change within them, now they're able to do more. Now they're able to say, oh, I can play with my kids again. I can walk up the flight of stairs with a container of laundry and and that basket is no longer so heavy. I'm able to go up there and put the clothes away. I'm able to, go to work and not choose the wrong foods in the cafeteria. I'm able to make those healthy choices.
Yeah, so you basically live by this motto of it's never too late to change your lifestyle, things like that. So would you just recommend people start, even walking in their households or doing little things each day? Do you think that makes a huge difference in the long run?
It does. It does. So many people think, oh, I'm at this certain age of my life. I've got these certain problems. I just have to deal with what I have, and I can't improve. There's always room for improvement. So there is no tomorrow. It's only today, because if we say tomorrow, it's never going to happen. So start right away and move more. Start right away and drink more fluids. Look at what you're eating and really evaluate, is it serving my body right? And that's how I've kind of taken the look into when I eat something. Am I going to eat this because it's serving me and fueling me? Or am I going to eat that just because it's serving some emotional need that doesn't need to be fed, kept with food?
Yeah, I know a lot of people struggle with having this kind of need to eat foods that are, junky or are sugary. So getting them off that type of lifestyle, that type of diet could be difficult at first, but if they have someone like you to guide the way, then I'm sure it would be really effective in getting off that eventually.
And it's hard. So when you're eating, say, cupcakes and cakes and baked goods and bagged chips, you just want more of it because your body wants more. It doesn't know any different. But then when we start introducing in the healthier foods and eliminating the other foods, you start to crave the healthier foods. And it's kind of a weird kind of euphoric feeling when all of a sudden you say, oh, I'd rather have a salad than to have a bag of chips.
It seems crazy, but it actually happens.
It's crazy. It's also crazy with water. When I start people saying, let's drink more water, and I'll say, let's strive for half your body weight in ounces. And they think, ooh, that's a lot. And we go through it, and it's really not that lot. And they spend 3 days, and by day 4, they go, I'm now thirsty. I said, you weren't thirsty before, but now you are because your body wants it, and it's starting to thrive with it.
So you're talking a lot about your body's need for things or your body's want to kind of eat certain things. So do you think that there's a strong correlation between your physical well-being and your mental state, how you feel about yourself?
There is. And you bring up this whole thought, comes from a book I recently read called Eat, Move, and Sleep. And it's a wonderful book that it's a quick read, and it talks about when you make the proper choices to what to eat, you'll be able to move better. And then when you're moving better, you'll have better quality of sleep and recovery. And if you sleep well, you'll make, again, better choices in what you're going to eat, and the cycle goes on. But if you have poor sleep, then you're going to make poor choices in eating. And then you're going to make, you're not going to want to move. So then the cycle goes in reverse in the bad way. So really, they're all intertwined with each other.
So kind of transitioning topics a little bit, I wanted to touch on these bikini competitions that you've been entered in. So I know it's more of a recent addition to your long resume of accomplishments. You had support of your friend and a coach. What was behind the scenes of that entire process like?
So if we back up even further, I dabbled in some fitness competitions back before my daughter was born, and she's now 14. So about 16 years ago, I started doing obstacle course races that also involved a bikini contest with it too, which kind of was a weird thing. Think of Spartan race and bodybuilding and an evening gown. So it was a weird thing, and it still exists to this day. But then I decided that wasn't where I wanted to stay. So a few years ago, about 5 years ago, I was talking with one of my friends and my workout partner, and I said, would you ever want to do something like this? And we were looking for a goal, because I inspire and help people achieve their goals. As a fitness instructor, I felt I needed a goal to show people what can I do for myself to improve myself. And she came back and said, yeah, let's do it. I said, great. Then I didn't know what to do. So I called a couple of friends who I knew were coaches and interviewed a few and said, this is what I want to do. So, we want to train together, and we did it. And so it was about 3 years ago. We entered our first one, and we went to New York, the two of us, with my coach and some other members, and we entered our first competition in a while for me. And it was a blast. It is such a blast because it's so different than what we're doing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. I know that in this day and age, a lot of people criticize things like beauty pageants for kind of objectifying women, things like that. But it seems like these fitness competitions with these, bikini competitions seem like they're empowering people to feel good about their bodies and to like be proud of the work that they've done with them.
It is, and a lot of times there's the aspect of transformation in it. So taking someone who has been not healthy, who has been sedentary, who has just had aches and pains, and all of a sudden changing it, or especially women who have, when they've had children, we kind of forget about our bodies and we stop honoring ourselves and taking care of our own family, and we need to take care of ourselves before we can take care of everyone else. So it gives people that chance to do that. So seeing that transformation is really a wonderful thing. And when you look at the human body in this respect, it's art form. It really is an art form, especially when you see some of the physiques out there that are just amazing to what they can do. And it's different than I think the objectifying that we get with, say, magazines and things like that.
In talking about this transformation process when you're training for competitions like this, what is that like? Do you change up your diet? Do you exercise more often?
Actually, my exercise does not change any bit from what I do now. It might change in the quality of the work that I do, so I might actually just stay a little bit more focused, but I never spend more than an hour and a half at the gym on my own workout, and that would be a lot. Usually it's about 40 minutes to maybe an hour for my own personal workout. My nutrition does dial in. I never cut any or eliminate foods that I can't have. I don't deprive myself of water. I am eating all foods that I want. In fact, I am having chocolate up to the day I go on stage. And some people can't believe that, but the way that I train, my food does not change from today until that week before show, except for it's precise and measured and very often.
With that, how do you set reasonable goals for yourself during this time? Because I know a lot of people think of fitness competitions, they're like, oh, I could never do that because all of these people have these amazing bodies that I could never even think about. But how do you think setting periodic goals for yourself plays a part in getting you to that final stage?
So for myself, setting those periodic goals, I have to think where I want to go long term and then kind of chunk it down a month by month and say, what am I going to focus on this month and really work on? So it might be, let me focus on really trying to build some strength in one part of my body. And then let me focus on, all right, I've been eating a little too much of, we'll just say cheese. And let me try to really eliminate that and put something else in that place. So it's giving that change there. But for someone that needs to do the transformation, and say needs to lose quite a bit of weight or something and go on, we look at what events are coming up in their lives, saying, what do you want to fit into, and make it attainable. Because if it's a huge goal, they're gonna burn out too fast before they get there.
So talking about your accomplishments as a whole, these fitness competitions, your 400-meter race, that type of thing, what were some of the positive and negative aspects as you were going along your journey?
I have a great support network, I have to say. My husband, my workout partners, my family have been great. So and my class members, it's really nice to see them come up and say, wow, we see the change, because I don't always see the change, because you don't when you look at yourself every day. But to have others see that, and then to have others say, hey, I'm inspired to do something more than I'm doing now. Negative, I run this hard thing. I do have a teenage daughter, and it's a hard thing to say, look what I'm doing. I'm controlling my food, but I'm not starving myself. So I have to always make a constant mind, like, look at what I'm eating. And she sees what I eat. And she'll look at it and go, I couldn't eat that much. I go, no, there's a lot of food that I eat throughout a day, and people think I'm not. And I have a teenage son, well, now a 20-year-old. And when he was in high school, it was hard for him. When the boys at his school would find out through social media what I was doing and then kind of send it around school, and it was hard. So that was the biggest part, was getting that perception out there, like, oh, look what Mrs. Smith is doing. Well, Mrs. Smith is doing something for her, not for you. And it's everyone's own prerogative on what they're going to do.
So would you say that there's kind of a negative stigma around what you do at all? Because as you mentioned, your not teenage anymore, but your son, when he was in high school, had a difficult time with it. So do you think that there's any way to eliminate the stigma or to educate people about the importance of what you do?
I think the stigma just came from kids being kids and teasing each other on it. But there is the stigma that people doing what I do that we are actually starving ourselves. There's that stigma for sure. Whereas I'd love to show anyone and take anyone into my life and say, come see how much I eat. See how often I'm at the grocery store buying foods. I never go a day and say I'm hungry, ever. And people think that we can't go out and have fun, and we can still have fun just like anyone else. You know, just because I choose to eat a certain way, or I choose to train, I choose to get up at 4:30 in the morning is my choice. I love to do that. And but conversely, by 8 o'clock at night, you won't find me going out doing anything.
Right. So would you say that this is a family thing that you guys all love to take part in, this whole fitness journey, or is it just a you thing?
No, it's funny because it's becoming a family thing now. So my husband now is my chauffeur every morning. He drives myself and picks up my workout partner, and we head to the gym together. And for a short time this past fall, my daughter actually joined us 3 out of 4 days usually during the week.
That's awesome.
To come work out for us so she could be better at her sport, because she realizes the more she puts into it, the better she'll get out of it.
So kind of just like talking about everything we've talked about thus far, other than eating well and exercising, what are some other things do you think people can do to contribute to their overall health being better?
Keeping their stress down is huge, and ways to keep your stress down, meditation, exercise, because your endorphins will go up, again, the proper nutrition for that, and sleep. People do not value their sleep, and we need to. It is proven out there that certain age groups are going to need a certain amount of sleep, and my sleep time is non-negotiable. There's a time that I have a hard time. I'm going to go to bed, and I'm going to get up. And on the weekend that shifts a little bit because of where I'm going, so I might be able to stay up a little bit later. But people just need to really learn how to honor their bodies, and their bodies will perform so much better.
Yeah, talking about sleep, I know a lot of the people I go to school with at Shrewsbury High, they deprive themselves of so much sleep because they're finishing their homework, or even my parents, sometimes they don't sleep because they have to work or things like that. So I guess it can be hard to kind of set these hard times of when you're going to go to sleep or wake up, because just society is kind of pressuring them to do otherwise.
It is, and it is sad. The environment we live in does want everyone to burn the candle at both ends. But I'm seeing the shift in a lot of people to finally realize that it is valuable, because their health is so much more important.
Yeah. So going back to this whole it's never too late mentality that we've been talking about, what do you think the benefits of beginning a healthy lifestyle is when you get older versus, starting when you're younger? Do you think that there's any kind of gap between how successful you can be?
I don't think there's a gap in how successful you can be, because you just don't know where your success could go. Because if you start very young, you may lose interest in it. Whereas when you start older, you may have a better appreciation for it. What I can say is that if I could teach my younger self what I know now, I probably would have been a D1 athlete rather than a D3 athlete. I don't know if I'd be doing the same thing now if I had been doing it then. I may have, again, like I said, I may have gotten bored, or I may have ventured off into another way. But to start now, as an older adult starting now, definitely start now. We just don't know what's going on inside of our bodies, because there could be a time bomb ticking away in there because of what we've done before. But start now, and you can maybe keep that time bomb at rest.
I'm sure there are a lot of people out here right now watching you who are inspired by this journey that you've been on. So if there's one thing that you can tell them to take away from this interview about fitness and about living a healthy lifestyle, what would you want to get across to them?
That one thing to take away would be to just do it now. Don't wait, because tomorrow may never come.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a really great time. And to everyone watching at home, if you have anyone in your life that you think would be a valuable addition to the show, or could present an interesting story for us to interview about, please just email. The email is going to be on the screen after I'm done with this interview. I also just wanted to say thank you again to Jen. It was an awesome interview.
Thank you, Katelyn.